Good evening, gentlemen. This is a World War III Team Yankee battle report. The belligerents are the Iraqis and the Iranians, played between my opponent and myself respectively. Each force is just 49 points, a lot less than what we're used to playing with, but it's nice for a quicker game experience. The Iraqis bring a T-72M tank battalion comprised of 9 T-72M main battle tanks and a BTR mech company. In support, they have a platoon of VCR-TH hot anti-tank vehicles, an Mi-24 Hind Assault Helicopter Company, and a Gazelle Hot Anti-Tank Helicopter Company as well. For my Iranian force, I bring a full mechanized infantry company with an M113 106mm anti-tank group and an M125 mortar group with an observer. Additionally, I bring a T-62 tank company comprised of 10 T-62 main battle tanks, and for support I have a ZSU 57-2 AA group and a Chieftain tank company. Our battle takes place in a Middle Eastern desert setting, along a stretch of highway. For this game we are playing the mission Annihilation. No objectives, just a meeting engagement, where a player wins if the opponent has no formations left on the table. There is a lot of cover on this map, and I intend to take full advantage of it. I deploy my T-62s behind a sand dune, and the majority of my infantry ready to move up into buildings for bulletproof cover. My mortars I keep in the far back of my ZSUs for the best possible defense against this large amount of air power. The Iraqis also deploy their infantry behind bulletproof cover, but with his tanks taking more offensive positions. My opponent takes the first turn, moving his forces forward to secure a line along the highway. He first targets the infantry holding down my left flank, the only ones not hiding behind cover. They are, however, far away and obscured by some terrain. 2 hits are scored by the T-72's main gun. I fail an infantry save for the first infantry team. I reroll the save for the second team because the tank's guns have the brutal ability, and they fail. Next, he targets some of my T-62s, which are visible from behind the sand dune, landing 3 hits and destroying all 3. My opponent ends his turn with no more targets visible or in range to attack. I start my turn rolling a morale check for the last tank in one of my T-62 units, and it fails, forcing the team to leave the battlefield. I advance my infantry across all fronts into advantageous cover from which to strike at the Iraqis. The T-62s move up onto the sand dune, and the chieftains poke their heads out through some buildings to take a shot. With my repositioned forces, I notice that the Iraqis' right flank is practically non-existent, and that it will collapse if I move in quickly. I can't yet get a side shot on his tanks, and my 106mm recoilless rifle bounces right off his armor. A Dragon missile team fires at the same Iraqi tank from a rooftop across the street and misses. Then my Chieftain tanks open up, this time destroying one. Up next, it's my T-62's time to shine. They fire a volley into the Iraqi T-72s, but destroy just one. I range in an artillery strike on the Iraqi infantry using my forward observer, but score no hits. This ends my first turn. At the start of my opponent's turn, he brings on his helicopters. Boy, do these look intimidating. The VCRs fire missiles at my T-62s, managing to bail one out. Iraqi T-72s also fire at my tanks, destroying one. The Iraqi infantry and their BTR-60s fire at my infantry that had just recently bunkered down in a small dwelling. They score a bunch of hits, but luckily for me, they fail their firepower rolls. His second unit of T-72s finds more success, however, when they target my chieftains. One bursts into flames and the other tank is bailed out. Then, his newly arrived Hinds prepare to fire at the 106 recoilless rifles. In response, 2 M113 transports and 3 SA-7 Grail rocket teams take shots at the helicopters. Only one Grail rocket hits, but it's able to make a successful aircraft save. With all my responsive fire out of the way, he fires into the recoilless rifles, destroying one and bailing the other one out. This ends his turn. At the top of my second turn, I have a few tanks that I'll try to remount. The T-62 fails, but luckily I'm able to get the Chieftain and the recoilless rifle functioning again. With that out of the way, I move most of my infantry into better positions for an attack, along with their M113 transports. The Iraqis haven't any ground units on the left side of the table, and I advance unopposed. My Chieftain tanks move up, crossing a wall, and I blitz the ZSUs forward, since they're out of range of shooting his helicopters. My first shots are from my recoilless rifle into the side of a T-72, and my RPG-7s into the same unit of tanks, but all shots miss or are deflected. The two chieftains are able to kill a tank. A dragon team from the rooftop tries to destroy the last remaining tank on the Iraqis' right flank, but the shot is also deflected. What the dragon team wasn't able to accomplish, a unit of 3 more RPGs do, clearing out the last tank. Using another infantry unit, I fire 3 more RPGs at a T-72, bailing it out. With the combined firepower of my infantry's MG3s and the 50 cals mounted on the transports, I eliminate most of the Iraqi infantry on the front lines. The T-62s fire again at the Iraqi tanks, bailing one and destroying the other. My mortars range in and bombard his garrisoned infantry in a building, but only manage to pin them down. It was an excellent turn for the Iranians, who have reduced the Iraqi armor to just 1 fully operative tank and 2 others bailed out. My opponent has to deal some serious damage on his next turn if he wants to even the odds. He repositions his transports on the front lines and fires into my infantry, killing an RPG team and pinning their unit down. The Gazelles launch rockets at my chieftains, destroying one. The Hinds have flown to the other end of the battlefield and attack my line of transports. With my responsive fire, I first fell 1 helicopter with a Grail missile team. The Hinds destroyed just 1 M113. The Iraqis' turn is done, and the momentum is still in my favor. I'm able to rally my infantry and move the forces on my left flank across the road onto the Iraqi side of the table. My T-62s and a Dragon missile team take shots at the VCR-TH hot vehicles, but all miss. A combined attack from my infantry and transports destroys 1 BTR-60 and bails 2 others out. It was a short turn. The Iraqis start their turn by rallying the BTR-60 and bailed out T-72. The VCR-TH HOTs destroy 2 T-62s. Before the Hinds can attack, I preemptively shoot one down with my ZSUs. The Hinds destroy another T-62, leaving just one on the table. Gazelles target the last remaining chieftain and blow it up. The BTRs kill 2 AK teams and 2 RPG teams. There isn't a formation commander for my last remaining T-62 to make a morale check at the start of my turn, so he leaves the battlefield. I move up on all fronts with my infantry and their transports, completely flanking the Iraqis on the left side of the table. A repeat bombardment from my mortars once again lands no hits. My transports fire at the same infantry, but they all make saving rolls. The recoilless rifle hits a BTR from behind, easily killing it. A second group of infantry with their RPGs and their transports attack the BTRs, bailing 3 out. The last thing I do is fire a Dragon missile at his T-72, but it is deflected. With this, my opponent surrenders, believing that I have him too well surrounded and outgunned for him to make a comeback. The Iraqis had lost 7 T-72s, 2 Hinds, 2 BTR-60s, and with the losses of infantry had approximately 42 casualties. The Iranians had lost 3 chieftains, 10 T-62s, 2 M113 vehicles, and with the losses of infantry had approximately 80 casualties. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Godspeed.